You are listening to Despair by Michael Brockbank. Episode 10. With his arm cocked back, the hunter flung the axe with as much strength as he could muster. It was his hope that it would have been a one-hit kill, striking the creature in the center of its back. Unfortunately, his attack was thwarted as the skeleton turned at its pace at that precise moment. The silver blade of the weapon struck the book with a loud thud, seemingly startling the skeleton. This caused it to take a step back and pause. Both figures stopped for a moment, surprised by the actions of the other, and contemplated their next moves. The skeleton slowly positioned the book to look at the axe protruding from its cover. "Do you have any idea how long it took me to find this book?" the skeleton asked with intense seriousness. The tone in its voice was a mixture of surprise and anger. Jordan was taken aback, as this form of dead had never spoken directly to him before. And it was definitely the source of the male voice from earlier. In a swift move walking towards his prey, Jordan flipped the axe in his offhand up in the air and caught her with his right. "The book will be the last of your worries, creature." He charged forward, bringing the weapon up to strike. As Jordan neared his target, the skeleton dropped the book and ran back into the common room. It proceeded with supernatural speed across the floor and moved through the broken bits of furniture with grace and incredible dexterity. The hunter followed in pursuit, trying to follow the creature's route through the debris. There was a slight sense of concern that crept into the hunter's mind. The skeleton was unlike anything he had faced before. Not only did it seem to read and speak, but its movements were more like that of a skilled rogue. Approaching the hearth, the skeleton placed the lantern on the mantel, grabbed the poker, and turned to face its aggressor. Bits of soot, dust, and remnants of ancient charred wood erupted from the fireplace, scattering across the floor. "I'm not your enemy, Ranger," it said, holding the poker out as if ready to duel. "And I'm not going to go down that easy." Jordan slowed his charge to more of a walk, still trying to wrap his mind around a skeleton that is able to speak without a mouth or throat. Apparently, it had faced someone like Jordan before, though he hadn't heard the term Ranger in quite some time. He slowly raised the axe and prepared for the pending fight. The element of surprise was no longer his. "I don't care what dark magic gave you the ability to speak, creature. I will put you down," he replied, crossing the floor. The skeleton took a few steps towards the staircase. The hunter matched its footfalls almost perfectly. The two made a quarter-circle pattern across the dust-covered floor. "I know this looks bad, but I assure you I am not what you think." As the skeleton spoke, its jaw continued to move up and down. As it put one foot on the first step of the staircase, Jordan lunged forward with his axe. The silver blade and wrought iron rod connected in a series of blows as the skeleton slowly backed its way up the staircase. Each attack from the hunter was met with a skillful parry. "Stop trying to hit me!" it yelled with each attempt from Jordan's attacks. Every swing of his axe was deflected. The skeleton had a great deal of fighting skills at its disposal. Jordan contemplated the type of master who would teach a skeleton to use a wrought iron poker. He did notice one flaw as the duel continued, though. The skeleton wasn't making attacks of its own. Every movement was a counter to each swing the hunter made. "If you're trying to tire me, you'll be waiting for a long time," Jordan said as the two made their way to the first landing of the stairs. There was a brief pause in the fight as both combatants seemed to size each other up. "Are you not listening? I am not your enemy. I have no wish to harm you." "Tell me then, who is your master? Who governs over you?" "Master? I have no master. I think you may have me confused with someone else." Jordan immediately began his attack once more, this time swinging for the neck of the creature. As the skeleton ducked the attack, the silver blade sliced through the aged candelabra standing in the corner. The hunter unleashed a furious series of swings and chops, only to have each one deflected by the iron poker. The sounds of the battle continued to ring throughout the drafty manor, echoing into every room. The lantern's light wasn't nearly as prominent as the two continued up the staircase, and the continuing storm outside covered any form of light the twin moons would have provided. The skeleton resumed its pace up the flight of stairs leading to the second floor. Dodging and parrying the hunter's advances, it still made no attempt to strike back at its attacker. "You're a good ranger, I'll give you that," it said, still countering every attempt Jordan made with the axe. The wood of the staircase creaked as the two made their way up each step. At one point, Jordan thought for sure they were going to fall through and back onto the ground floor. However, the carpenter's skill for building the manor had been evident as the structure remained sturdy. As the battle continued, the two finally set foot on the second floor of the manor. There wasn't much left of this section of the structure, as much of the roof had caved in. The skeleton was running out of places to evade the hunter. Soon it would be cornered along the railing above the common room. I'm going to ask you this one last time, creature. Where is your master? And I'm telling you I have none. Right now I'm as perplexed as you. I doubt that. I'm speaking to a walking pile of bones. And I'm the one who woke up that way. Jordan stopped his advance to consider what he had just heard. Clearly, the skeleton thought it had free will. If this was a trick, it was something new to the hunter. The creature seemed sincere in its explanation, and seemed just as confused as he. Jordan has always held an open mind. Of course, an open mind was a necessity in his line of work. He's fought creatures and beings that usually only appear in the nightmares of young children. Could the creature be telling him the truth? He couldn't shake the feeling that something else was going on outside of mere undead hordes and a talking skeleton. Explain, the hunter said in a near whisper. The anger he felt when fighting the dead was almost too much to reel back. But there were too many strange things going on that night which needed to be answered. Perhaps he could learn more about what had been going on to help the villagers. Regardless, Jordan felt a sense of sheer morbid curiosity about his adversary. Some time ago, I awoke in a mausoleum quite a distance from here. And as the skeleton began its explanation, Jordan felt the blow from a wooden object strike the back of his skull. As the hunter crumpled to the floor, he heard the skeleton speak. You didn't have to hit him that hard. We don't have time for this, replied a second and unfamiliar voice. I had everything under control. What if you killed him? The skeleton knelt down next to Jordan, holding the back of his head. And what if I did? Would they hang me? We are not killers, Jared. Jordan looked up in a haze as everything was starting to fade to black. He saw the face of the skeleton looking down at him and tried to lift his hand, which was still holding tight onto the axe. The sensation quickly left his arm, however, and the hunter lost his grip on the silver weapon. A second wispy figure materialized next to the skeleton to form the face of a clean-shaven man, also looking down. But this one had the obvious facial expressions of concern, and with that, the hunter's eyes closed as he lost consciousness.